Guys, what's up? Welcome to the Swiftful Top Podcast. I am your host, T. Fitzharris. Wow, what a week it has been. Oh my goodness. This has been an amazing week, and we have carried this journey together all the way through to Good Friday. We started at Palm Sunday, went through Holy Monday, Holy Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Thursday. Now we are at Palm Sunday. The scene has already been set. Judas has already given him the kiss of betrayal in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus has now been arrested, and his final moments are at hand. Jesus has been taken by soldiers. He has been led away in chains after the kiss of a friend. This time in Jesus' life, although we're about to go through some extremely brutal moments, would it surprise you to say that as brutal as it was as beautiful as it was? Now, I know that's hard to grasp, that duality, that something that was so horrendous and so bloody and so gory could also be beautiful at the same time. But when you factor in the full weight of the cross, you also must factor in that everything that he did, the key events that happened on Good Friday, all of which were taking place in order to redeem you and I. So that is the beauty of the betrayal. That is the beauty of the beating. That is the beauty of the denying of Peter. That is the beauty of the unjust trials. That is the beauty of wearing a crown of thorns, or that is the beauty of giving your hands to the nails and your feet to the spike and your side to the spear. That is the beauty of taking the whips and the cat of nine tails. That is the beauty of being spat upon and having them at the foot of the cross, gabbling from your remnant. That is the beauty that he only saw in us. It was a terrible death. There is no one in history of life that has ever died a death quite like this. And I know sometimes we try to flower up the gospel. We see these beautiful, pristine pictures of who they call to be Jesus, with beautiful pale skin or dark bronze skin, and his eyes are fiery and all these things. But the Jesus that was left on that cross looked nothing like that. Can I take you into the scene of what led him up to the cross? He is captured and chained by the guards. He goes through a myriad of illegal trials. Old preachers say he went from judgment hall to judgment hall, and then from judgment hall to the steeping of the hill. Not only does he go through unjust trials, it shows us that once sometimes you or I go through tough times, some people's loyalty to us begin to fail under the pressure of our issues. Where do you see that at? Look at Peter. He told Peter, before the cock crows, you're going to deny me 3 times. And there's this infamous, famous story of Peter, of them asking Peter when he was around the cross, hey, when they captured Jesus, aren't you one of those disciples? No, sir. Aren't you one of those disciples? No, sir. Aren't you one of those disciples? Beep, 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 beep. I said, no, sir. Isn't that just like our lives? Can't you see how that runs parallel? That sometimes when we're in the thick of it, people seem to thin out. Sometimes when we're going through our worst situations, when our heart is the most broken, sometimes all we have is our pillow to catch our tears, because the ones that said they would be with us forever somehow seems to walk away and leave us in our lowest moments. Oh, but if you keep reading the story, Jesus didn't only go through judgment hall to judgment hall, but then he went before Pilate and Herod. Yeah, this is where it gets crazy. See, a man who had only did good, a man who had only did right, a man who had only blessed and helped people and done what was good for people. See, when he went to them, Pilate said he finds no fault. Put him up against Barabbas. And we know the story. The crowd chose Barabbas. The innocent was rejected for the guilty. See, even though Barabbas got released and he was guilty of what he did, in just a few moments later, had he accepted Jesus as his Savior, he would have been free forever. See, here's the duality of the story. Not only do Jesus see those who have leaned toward him, he also see and died for those who lean away from him. That is the beauty of grace, that grace will find you wherever you are, doing whatever you're doing, and put a cold stop right there. I don't know if you're like me. Grace literally had to come and snatch me out because I was too dumb to walk out. Jesus then gets beaten and mocked. He gets scourged. He gets a crown of thorns. He gets mocked as king. But isn't it amazing that out of all that he went through, the Bible never, ever shows a moment where he complained? So I got to ask you, Christian, now. I got to ask you, believer, now. What hardship are you going through that has caused you to turn your back on God because you felt that it was too hard to serve your hardship and God at the same time? Clip that. What difficulty have you faced in your life? What judgment have you went from and to that had you turn around and say, I no longer need Jesus as my Savior? As we walk into Resurrection Sunday here on Good Friday, now's a good time to make a decision. Now's a good time to recommit yourself back to him, because the same one that hung up on that cross, the same one that had the blood coming down through the eyes, the old historian says his eyes wasn't so full of blood that he could not see you and I. Oh, after he got beat and mocked and scorned, the Bible tells us that he took that faithful walk down the Via Dolorosa, which is called the Sorrowful Way. Oh, he wagged and dipped with that cross. Oh, he carried that cross, but he just didn't carry the cross of Jesus. He carried the cross of Todd. And he carried the cross of insert your name to ensure that one day we will be able to see his face in peace. He carried the cross so much to Simon the Cyrene, after he had dipped down when at that final time, helped him to carry the cross. See, the weight of the sins of the world was on his shoulder, and he needed just somebody to help him out. The crucifixion was a public shaming. It was degrading, and it was painful. Oh, you know the story. I don't have to tell you to you. He got nailed to the cross. The Bible told me that he hung there between heaven and earth. Said that he hung there between life and death. He hung there between good and evil, between two criminals. He was literally the man in the middle. And he didn't stop there. Never said a mumbling word, never cried out for the angels or the legions of angels that could have come. He even took time to reintroduce his mother while dying on the cross. Oh, we've all heard the 7 last sayings of Jesus. We won't go through them now. Catch a local Baptist preacher. It is the Baptist Super Bowl. They got you. But he died between sinners for sinners. But can I tell you something? He didn't get too busy dying to the one that hung to his right heard those faithful words that this day you will be with me in paradise. You see, Jesus cared enough to stop dying to give somebody life. And can I tell you today, this whole week would be for naught. This whole time that we have spent together talking about our walk through Holy Week would be for nothing. It would be rubbish if somebody under the sound of my voice, no matter where you're watching from across this entire world, no matter where you catch this from, the replay, the live play, however you catch it, make sure that you accept him as your Savior. Because the death that he died for you is unlike anything that anybody else would do for you. Oh, how could it be called a Good Friday when so many bad things happen? Because the good in the Friday was you and I. The good in the Friday is that we have been freed from sin forever. Now, that's too much to get into right now, but the good in Friday, Hebrews 10 and 11 said that this man, Jesus, once he died for sin forever, sat down and took a seat, my God, today, and no longer has to die again. My friend, you don't have to live under the same bondage. You don't have to carry the same weight. The same Jesus that hung up for our hang-ups is the same one who is asking, begging, pleading you now. I knock at the door of your heart. Will you open up and let him in? It was a bad Friday for him, but it was a good Friday for us. I'll catch you guys tomorrow for day 7 of our walk through Holy Week. Have a great night.